Hello and welcome to another episode of Matthew Answers the Internet, the question and answer show where I, with a lot of your help, attempt to answer all those burning board game questions. The first question we have this month is, who else hates getting rid of expansion boxes? I've met people like this. People that still love keeping those unnecessary extra boxes. I'm the opposite. I not only like getting rid of expansion boxes, I love it. Get rid of as many boxes as I can. I'll go so many steps further, but I know that this is an issue, right? A lot of people have bought something and are attached to the thing that they bought and don't want to get rid of it. And often the expansion box is beautiful and lovely and fits all the components in just right. There are very many games where you cannot get rid of the expansion box because there's too much content. The Red Cathedral's got an expansion called Contractors. You can't get all the expansion stuff into the base game, which drives me nuts. Get them out. Get expansion boxes out of my world. I want everything to fit in the base game. But I understand the desire to keep the things because they look nice on the shelf. Like Viticulture World, where the expansion box is bigger than the base game and the board doesn't. I want to get rid of every expansion box that exists in my life. Often what I will do is, I have a game called Trains, which I have both expansions, Coastal Tides and Rising Sun. But I've got rid of one of the boxes because I can get all the boards in one box. I've got some bonus boards as well. It's a great deck building game. I absolutely love it. And all of the cards are in another. But I got to get rid of one of those boxes. I love the gift series of games. I've got all 7 of them. However, they're all in these 2 boxes now. I've put all of the boards into one box, all of the boards for all 7 games, and the rules, no, yinch! And all of the pieces are in this box. All of the pieces for all of the games. They all fit perfectly. I got rid of all the inserts, and I managed to get rid of 5 Ticket to Ride size boxes out of my collection. I'm also the kind of person who will cut a box down to make the box smaller if the box itself, the base game, is too big. This is Snakes, a party game that I really like from Big Potato Games. The original box is about this big. Why? It doesn't need to, I know why, shelf presence, but the whole thing now fits into here. Thus, probably meaning this game stays in my collection for a lot longer. I will always get rid of an expansion box if I can. What are expansion boxes that you'll never get rid of? How do you feel about getting rid of expansion boxes in general? What do you think of this gift series abomination? Let me know your hints and tips and tricks to slice down your collection. Keep as many games, but in less space. But before we get on to the next question, we have a quick word from the sponsor, who in part helped make this episode possible. This episode is made possible in part by Empire's End, coming to Kickstarter from Brotherwise Games in November. This is a civ building game, but a different kind of one. As the leader of a grand civilization at the height of its influence, it's up to you to save it from collapse by avoiding as many disasters as you can. But sometimes succumbing to disaster may prove beneficial. In Empire's End, 2 to 4 players compete to keep calamity at bay by cleverly combining reverse bidding with engine building, long-term planning, giving the game a unique strategic depth. The result is a game with a quick tempo, abundant tension, and multiple challenging paths to victory. As disasters befall an empire, its people grow in wisdom and resilience, and gain a new ability and innovation that reflects their empire's ability to adapt in the face of challenging times. Follow the link in this video's description to be notified by Brotherwise Games when the campaign for the game launches, so you can get in on Empire's End right from the beginning. The next question is certainly October themed, and it's, hey, what are the best spooky games for Halloween? I don't think there are enough seasonal games, full stop. There are nowhere near enough good Christmas games. What are you going to play on Easter? Hare and Tortoise? Is that about it? And that only vaguely makes sense. There are more games that have a horror theme to them, but there's very few Halloween games. They have made a lot of horror films into games. Alien: Another Glorious Day in the Corpse, I would argue, is a horror themed game because it's Alien, it's a horror film. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre is being made into a game. Some of the escape room games have a horror feel to them. Spooky exit games, that type of thing. There's the American Psycho trick-taking game coming from Renegade, which I am just fascinated about. There are lots and lots. I mean, it used to be a meme, right? There's a lot of zombie games, which are horror themed. There's a Night of the Living Dead game, right? But I have a list here of 10 games that I really love that I think are fantastic Halloween night games for you to play. In no particular order, the first one is Nightmare Productions, which is a Knizia auction game, one of his absolute top tier games, one of his really great ones. The version I have at the moment is called Dream Factory. There's been other Tram Fabric and stuff like that, but this is an auction game where you're trying to make films, and this new version makes a lot of sense because you're trying to make campy horror films. The next is Horrified. I have Horrified American Monsters, but the original Horrified has the universal monsters like Frankenstein and stuff, and the other one has more like Bigfoot and El Chupacabra and stuff in it. Horrified is a wonderful co-op game where you're trying to go around and do different mini games essentially to win. It's actually the game that got me into co-ops. That's saying something. So Horrified, fantastic. I think one of my favourite social games to play is Dark Moon, which is been called Battlestar Galactica the Dice game. Dark Moon is a dice version of the grander Battlestar Galactica game where things are going wrong on this spooky space station, and what you need to do is go to the different places, and everyone needs to give resources up in the form of dice to help solve those things. However, all your dice are behind a secret screen and they have different values on them. And you can say, oh, I've only got negative values, I can't help. When you're lying, you've got great dice. You just want everything to fail because you're a traitor. Dark Moon, I feel, is at the moment, it's become an under the radar type of social game. But wow, I absolutely love it. There's a small Knizia card game called Friday the 13th, which is a very spooky Halloween type thing. That version is by Yellow, I believe, and it's got a cat on the front and it's, you know, spooky. The theming is don't go under ladders and black cats and that type of stuff. The version I've got is called Poison, which again still kind of works, but not quite as well. But in it, you're trying to brew these potions in Friday the 13th. They're just different piles, and you don't want those piles to bust on you because you're going to take a bunch of negative points. It's one of those really wonderful card games, which is, I will argue, Halloween-y. Another game that I think really works for Halloween is Unmatched, Cobble and Fog specifically. I love Unmatched. I think it's a fantastic game. I really believe it's special. There's something very special about it. And the Cobble and Fog has you lurking round the dark streets of London as Sherlock Holmes, who's not particularly horror-filled, but he's maybe chasing the Invisible Man, Dracula, and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, all these classic characters. And it's dark and stressful because they're going to strike out of the darkness. Thematically and the way the game feels, really wonderful game for a Halloween night, I think. If it's a party game, a social deduction game that you really want that's lighter than Dark Moon, my favourite one is horror themed, I feel like. Don't Mess with Cthulhu. It might be my absolute favourite social deduction game because it gives you a reason to call everybody that you've known for years a liar straight away. I don't trust any of you. No, you're all no good. Everyone at the start of the game has told you how many elder signs they have. However, some people are lying because some people are cultists. Dave says, I've got 3 elder signs. You think, well, that's great. You've only got 4 cards. Turn one of yours over, that one. And Dave turns his card over and it's not an elder sign. Now, were you just unlucky? Was Dave very unlucky? Because we don't trust Dave no more. But it gives you a reason to distrust people. I've never had this game go wrong. It's so much fun. Halloween really can be encapsulated in Betrayal at House on the Hill. There's also a Legacy Edition, which I really would love to play. I've not actually had a chance to even look at that much. What's happening is you're all exploring this house, getting stuff, trying to get equipment, all that type of thing, doing things that happen, tasks happen, and things happen to your characters. And all of a sudden, there's a haunt. One of the characters turns out to be a baddie, and then you've all got to kind of get out of the house. Sometimes the haunt can go very strange. Sometimes the haunt's over in about 6 seconds. Sometimes it's never over, you know. But for a real wonderful, grand Halloween night in, Betrayal at House on the Hill. Everyone sat round, light some candles, get all spooky, put some music on. That's how I would like to spend my Halloween if I had the chance. And a few more quick for you. I would say that The Bloody Inn is I love The Bloody Inn. It's a fantastic game where you're trying to get money and stuff, but there's visitors coming to your inn and you've got to dispose of them, essentially. It's a very gruesome, macabre theme, but it's a fantastic, wonderful game. I love Dead of Winter. I love it. It's horror themed in my book. It's a zombie game, and there's also a hidden traitor type of aspect to the game, possibly. One time I ruined a friend's night by playing that game because I was a secret traitor at the very end, and we'd all won, and then I turned my card over, and it turned out only I had won. He didn't speak to me for the rest of the night. He's never let me forget it, actually. That's why I love Dead of Winter. And the last one, I would say my hidden gem horror game is Mall of Horrors. Now there's also a version of Mall of Horrors, which is the reprint called City of Horrors, I believe, which is a more streamlined version, but the original game has a bit more going on, a bit more meat on those zombified bones. And in it, you are essentially negotiating to stay alive a lot of what's happening, and you're huddled up in these different rooms, and you want to be the one that stays in the room and not outside where the monsters are. So those are my 10 horror Halloween games that I think are wonderful. But what are yours? That's the most important thing. That's what I want to know. I want more of these games. I love horror. So down below, let me know what are your favorite horror themed, Halloween themed games, and bonus points definitely for the more obscure ones, I think. Let us know below. And the final question this month is, are deluxe games getting out of hand? Now, I feel like deluxe games, it's really a matter of taste. It's a matter of what you want from a game. But I will say, they keep on making them. So people must be buying them. I tend, personally, to steer clear of most deluxe versions of games. I like to buy 6 obscure games that are old, rather than one brand new deluxe version of a game. But that's me. I'm not necessarily like you. Thank God, right? You're thinking, geez, I got away with that. I feel like the issue is, with deluxe versions of games, is this one-upmanship on platforms like Kickstarter, where to get noticed, you have to be the biggest and the loudest. So how do you do that? It's by more, right? How do you get noticed? It's by having the stack of games that you're getting in the Kickstarter to be as tall as a 7-year-old. Now it's as tall as a 9-year-old. Now it's as tall as an NBA basketball player. Is NBA the basketball one? Well, imagine it is. If it's not, I'm British. I feel like that is the way that they are getting out of hand. Personally, the logistics of backing these games is actually also getting difficult. I think we are getting to a tipping point. People want these massive games, but the amount of people who can actually afford not only to buy into the game, but to get it delivered, the shipping cost is often the same cost as the game. So I think those are where the curve is starting to fall off, because there is a limit to how much you can ship out and people are going to be able to fork out for. But does that mean that deluxe games are getting out of hand in general? No, I don't really think so, because there's a market for them. People who want them, and that's great that they have the option to get them. I also have the option to get different games. There's only been a very few occasions where I've thought, I wish I could get that game, but it's a deluxe only and I can't afford it. That has certainly happened, and it's happened certainly very recently with a couple of games I can think of, and I thought, I really would like that, but I can't afford it, and it's deluxe only, so I'm out. But there are thousands and thousands of other games that I'm able to get if I want. So if I can let those go, it's okay. I feel like deluxifying your games is a wonderful thing to do. You can take all the coins and go and buy like nice metal coins for it, so you can sleeve the cards in lovely sleeves. Doing that to a game, I think, shows how much you love it. Does it heighten the experience for you? Because if it does, it might be worth doing. It's not something I necessarily ever seek out to do, but that's because I tend to go wide rather than go deep into games. How about you? What is your favorite deluxeified game? I guess you've had two different versions of it. Games that have been upgraded and games that are massively overproduced, you could say, or well produced, let's say. Let me know all the answers to any of the questions in this month's show below. I'd love to read them. It certainly makes doing these so rewarding. And thank you so much everyone for watching. I'll see you later.